The Waggle text. Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling. The Dementor's kiss. And then Harry saw them, Dementors, at least 100 of them, gliding, sliding, floating, drifting in a black mass around the lake towards them. He spun around, the familiar icy cold penetrating his insides whilst fog started to obscure his vision. More were approaching. They were appearing out of the darkness on every side. They were surrounding him, encompassing them, encircling them, surrounding them. "Hermione! Hermione, think of something happy!" Harry yelled, raising his wand and blinking furiously to try and clear his vision. He kept shaking his head to rid it of the faint screaming that had started inside it. "I'm going to live with my godfather. I'm leaving the Dursleys." He forced himself to think of Sirius and only Sirius, and began to chant Expecto Patronum, Expecto Patronum. Black gave a shudder, rolled over and lay motionless, still on the ground, pale as death. "He'll be all right. I'm going to go and live with him. Expecto Patronum! Hermione, help me! Expecto Patronum!" "Expecto," Hermione whispered. Expect. But she couldn't do it. The Dementors were closing in, barely 10 feet away from them. They formed a solid wall around Harry and Hermione and were getting closer. "Expecto Patronum!" Harry yelled, trying to stop the screaming from his ears. "Expecto Patronum!" A thin wisp, a strand, a tiny, tiny strand of silver escaped his wand and hovered and floated like mist before him. And at the same time, Harry felt Hermione collapse next to him. He was alone, completely alone. Expecto Patronum! Harry felt his knees hit the cold grass. Fog was clouding his eyes, and with a huge effort he fought to remember. Sirius was innocent. We'll be okay. I'm going to live with him. Expecto Patronum! He gasped. And by the feeble, the tiny, the squalid light of his formless Patronum, he saw a Dementor stop very close in front of him. He couldn't walk through the cloud of silver mist Harry had conjured, and yet a dead, yet slimy hand slid out from under the cloak. It made a gesture, a movement, as though to sweep the Patronus aside. No, Harry gasped. "He's innocent! Expecto Patronum!" He could feel them watching him, hear their rattling, clattering and shaking breath like the evil wind around him. The nearest Dementor seemed to be considering him. Then it raised both its rotting hands and lowered its hood. Where there should have been eyes, there was only thin, grey, scabbed skin stretched blankly over empty sockets. But there was a mouth, a gaping, a vast, cavernous, shapeless, formless hole, sucking the air with the sound of a death rattle. A paralysing terror filled Harry so that he couldn't move nor speak. His Patronus flickered and died. White fog was blinding him. He had to fight. Expecto Patronum! But he couldn't see. And in the distance he heard the familiar screaming. Expecto Patronum! He groped, he reached, he grabbed in the mist for Sirius and found his arm. They weren't going to take him. But a pair of strong, clammy hands suddenly wrapped themselves around Harry's neck. They were forcing his face upwards. He could feel its breath. It was going to rid him first. He felt its putrid, disgusting breath. His mother was screaming in his ears. She was going to be the last thing he ever heard. And then, through the fog that was drowning him, he thought he saw a silvery light growing brighter and brighter.